How did you get involved in World War II? Did you enlist?
No, I was drafted. I graduated when I was from high school. I graduated at 16,
Oh,
and I was 17 a couple days later, and I got a job at the Glenn L. Martin Company, who made airplanes, B-26s, Marauders.
so you did war work even before you got into the
Yeah,
military.
I put the turret in. The turret that swirls around
Right.
right in front of the tail of the B-26, the Marauder. I got in illegally. I wasn't supposed to be working at 17 in the shop. So I hired on as a timekeeper, supposedly to work in an office, but they put me out in the shop anyhow to do timekeeping work. Didn't like that. I wanted to work on the airplanes. So I made an arrangement with one of the foremen in the shop, and he had me transferred. What it was the turret on the top that spins around, has two 50 caliber machine guns in it. I had to work on the airplane and put a ring in it, in the top of it first. I would get in the turret and I'd hook on the cable and take myself up and over the airplane and put myself down in that hole I repaired, which was an interesting job. It was better than just riveting. I worked by myself. I did all the airplanes that came out, which was like 2 or 3 a day. It wasn't difficult if you knew what you were doing. So I fitted it until it worked.
So how did the Army find out about you?
Oh, I had registered already, for the draft. So I got a letter from the president. I think I worked at Martin for about a year and a half. I went to the 5th Regiment Armory in Baltimore. They asked me what I'd like to do. I'd always been interested in flying. I said, I'd like to be a pilot. Okay, and he wrote something down. So about 3 days later, I was on a train en route to the middle of Kansas to Fort Riley, which was a horse cavalry. And I didn't like horses particularly. So I'd never ridden a horse in my life. And so I got a transfer to the mechanized cavalry.
Where was that?
Same place, Fort Riley. First of all, they put me in a driver's school to drive scout cars, which the cavalry has, because they're generally out in the front. And I got to thinking that's not too good a place to be, but I couldn't do much about it. So finally then they put me in a mechanic school and learned a lot about engines and trucks. They came up with a program called ASTP, Army Specialized Training. I didn't know what that was, but I applied for it. Well, it turned out to be a condensed college course. They sent me to the University of Denver. The courses were all condensed. You can imagine how much homework that generated. Every night we're up until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
What were you studying?
Engineering. Later, when I got out and went to the University of Maryland, they gave me credit for two whole years for 8 months of work. So then the war wasn't going too well and they needed an infantryman.
Oh no.
So they sent us to the Rainbow Division, 42nd. That's where I spent the rest of my Army life. And then they sent us to Camp Gruber in Oklahoma, which was where the 42nd, the Rainbow Division was. The Rainbow Division put me in the anti-tank company, which used a 57 millimeter anti-tank gun. I became a driver.
Okay, so you're driving the truck that's pulling the gun. Okay.
I pulled the gun. They put us on machine gun nests, and we handled them pretty well.
Where was this that you were doing this?
It was in Alsace. Alsace is right along the Rhine, and it's an area that Germany and France kept fighting over.
Well, how dangerous was your work hauling this gun around?
Right on the front.
Were you ever injured?
No, I got away with pretty lucky.
What was your scariest moment?
One day in a little town called Gahs, I was to leave early and go back from the front line to where our kitchen was, maybe distance of 4 or 5 miles. Very cold, below zero, and there's always 6 or 8, 10 inches of snow. Most of the time we're outside day and night. We happened to get into this little town called Gahs, and we happened to find a couple of decent houses. So every couple of days we get hot chow. My job was to drive back and get it and bring it to her. I was supposed to go the next morning. I'd gotten up early and I went to my truck, and a mortar had exploded near the truck and 3 of my tires were flat. So I went to another house where I knew another truck driver was, and I got him out, and we were in the truck ready to start out, and I looked out, and here's all these guys lined up on the edge of this forest, and they had white sheets on or uniforms on. There was about 150. There were only total of 19 of our men in this little town. Well, Gardner, who was the other driver, hadn't seen them. And I showed them to him. I said, don't start up yet. Then one of them hollered to something in German, and we knew. So we got out of the truck, ran to the house he was staying at, told them to get up and come upstairs with us. We were going upstairs. Well, I first went up, one of our guys firing out the window. As I got there, he says, I just got another one. And with that, he got shot right in the middle of the forehead. By that time, everybody else was up. Maybe 7 of us all together. We fought there all day. I stayed
You never got breakfast, huh?
Oh, no. Breakfast? No. We didn't have anything to eat that day. So I stationed myself at the top of the stairs. In about half an hour or so, they started coming in. So I just shot them as they came in the stairs down to the bottom, because they were coming for us.
So you fought all day? Did you get them all?
All day. No, we chased them away. They finally got tired of being killed, I guess. So they moved on. Gardner, the other driver that was with me, he fought from the bedroom. He was firing out the window. Then he heard some German soldiers underneath the window. And so he took a grenade, he pulled a pin and threw it out. Well, there's a problem there, and he hadn't been trained about this, nor had I. He should have waited. I think it goes off after 7 seconds. If they threw it back in. Luckily, it landed on a bed, which was a feather bed. And he comes out, and actually he was laughing about it. When they threw it back again, and he saw it went on the bed, he hit the floor, which saved him. There were 19 of us in that town, and it looks like we repulsed maybe 150 Germans. And so we got the French League of Valor.
That's wonderful.
That's quite an honor. I'm a Frenchman too. I can do everything in France except vote. But the mayor told me I could vote in his town. Many times we were out just to keep going. And here I am in a cumbersome truck with a gun hanging on the back and 9 men in the back. And I'm supposed to drive into a village that nobody else was there but us in Germany. Yeah, we got that order many times. Oh, we went all the way to Munich, and we liberated Dachau. Our particular company wasn't needed in Dachau anymore. Because we got there maybe about an hour and a half after it had been liberated. The first troops there had some trouble. They had a battle with the Guards. Before our particular squad, which is 10 men, moved on, they said, we want you to go into Munich right away as soon as you can, but first we want you to clear that woods over there, which is right alongside the camp. So we went over, and all of a sudden the bushes started moving, and these prisoners started coming up with the garb on, with their prison guard stripes. And they came over and hugged me all up, and they're all dirty and skinny, and went down and kissed my combat boots. And that was moving. That was moving. We were the first troops into the Munich town hall. See, I was the first truck in there because I was head of the line. But there wasn't any resistance at all in Munich. So our job was to get the colonels and the generals out of the city hall, which was where Nazism was born, in a big beer hall underneath that hall. But they didn't give us any trouble. They all came out, and we got a lot of guns. I have a picture. After Munich, which wasn't any fight at all, we moved on towards Austria. We had gotten halfway to Austria when the war was over. They kept moving us out. The Russians had taken all of Austria, and we were the first end to Salzburg, which was on the west end, and Vienna was always all the way on the east end. So they kept moving us back, but the Russians had taken Vienna, and they had really beat it up, and they raped all the women. And well, I was in Vienna for at least 6 or 8 months, and I loved that town. The people were even different. They're kind of lighthearted, and we went there because we were supposed to be a 4-power city, and they had it cut up into quarters of French, British, American, Russian. I guess we weren't supposed to mix. I had a little experience, though, that way. I got to know a family over there, and I used to go there and give them a little food that I could get, because they were starving, which was in the Russian zone. One night I stayed too long, and I thought, well, it was dark, and this family was maybe, let's say, 4 or 5 blocks within the Russian zone. And I said, well, I guess it'll be all right. So I started walking. I heard these hobnail boots in the back of me. So I sped up a little bit, and they speeded up, and I slowed down, and they slowed down. And I reached in my pocket, and I had a pack of chewing gum. So I just stopped and turned around, gave them a big smile, and handed each one of them a stick of gum. Well, that broke the ice, and that was fine. It was 2 young officers, Russian officers. They had read our books, Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, and they could speak a little bit of English and a little bit of German. And I kept walking, a little faster as we went. So I finally got to the stop on to the streetcar and say goodbye.